So what's your opinions on chess? Yes, chess.
Opinion in what way?
Wow.
It's a game where you try to beat your opponent with your figures. Yes.
Is it?
Do you use tactic and strategy, or is it more strategy?
Well, chess is pretty old, really. It's a dated game. Do you know the real reason of the chessboard?
No.
No? Interesting. So does it go castle, bishop, horse, which is a rook, no, knight,
Yeah.
queen, king, horse, bishop, castle?
Yeah.
The rest are pawns, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know if you move the pawns to the other side of the board,
Yeah.
yes?
Yeah.
And you've got light and dark, yes?
Yeah.
But you need to move the pawns to the other side of the board, and you move the castle with the castle, dark and light.
Yeah.
You move the bishop, you move the horse, you move the king, you move the queen, you move the other horse, and you move the other bishop and castle to the other side of the board. This becomes, then you have to go from light to dark in a pattern like this. And do you know what that means? Have you ever noticed that if you tell someone something, they'll tell everybody it?
Yeah.
You know that's no accident, don't you? Are your secrets safe? Any of them?
I don't think they are.
So you cross over these types of things and then you start putting in friend dynamics. The old pieces are wrong. Today you need county council, South NDC.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
You still have the castle because it becomes the house. And you can also make this bigger and you can also then add in jobs or work, yes? What happens if you move a house around someone? Now, the king, so we see it. And we also see light and we see dark pieces, yes? So we have the goody two-shoes that appear in the front. Yeah, these are the ones that walk in the light. Yes? And the ones that walk in darkness stand behind these ones and puppeteer the ones at front of them. They're called the shadows. So you have a hidden all of these structures. But remember, they brought down the church, right? Yes? So the chessboard with church, which would be bishop, no longer counts. So you could change that to police officer, military. Yes? If you change the chessboard to the figures that are in society now, and you will also use a hidden police service versus one that is seen, the fronters. And you put these in the light. They're the goody two-shoes. They're the ones that the shit don't stink, usually, more often than not. And the ones in the shadows, the dark shadows, well, they get away with more because you can't see them. And even if you could, you wouldn't be able to understand it. Yes? And the pawns are zigzag, crisscrossed, light and dark pieces. Now, if I utilize a officer, which we would use one of these pieces as being an officer, to come and check into your house, do I get to know all of the data on you? Yeah, if I listen to your friends or people in your family that might be gossips, can I also listen to the data on you? Do you have a personal life? No. If you go and confide in someone in a church, can I get information from you? Can I control you using this chessboard by moving your house? The prices, inflation. Yeah? What about work? If I gave you a sacking, if I sacked you, yes? I can then also control you as a pawn, yes? Or at least narrow you down or make your life. It's a chess game. But chess, the old version of chess, was about castles and knocking this down, but you had to get through the layers of people. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now I have to make this chessboard for every nation on the planet. Yes? The fronters versus, they're called the puppets, you might want to call them that, LSPs. And then you've got the puppeteers that stand behind them. Once you bring this down, what happens? The ones in the shadow will go and regroup behind something else. Yes? They will create a new structure. Same individuals, just hidden behind because you never knew who they were, right? So being invisible. Did you know that this chessboard is what the universe uses? You don't know that? Well, that's interesting. You feel that there's something more here, yes? But you can't see it. But it reveals itself when it needs to be revealed, yes? Can I also utilize other pawns to do things to create pressure points on individuals to see how they tick, to see what makes them get pissed off? Yes? So if you knew that this was a type of chessboard, and it doesn't have to be a chessboard, it could be on a bigger table than this, because this is just one area of this particular chessboard. But now what about if we add in other nations into that? Then they become pockets. The chessboard has just got bigger, yes? And bigger and bigger and bigger, because the way they operate is to understand the way they operate with their people, the way that they are. Yeah. That then gives you an idea of how to move pieces there as well, yes? You know what I was telling you back at... Cool, I've told you on a few instances that I was playing multi-dimensional chess on a board that had to keep moving. And you're like in a massive dome of chessboards. That's what I was referring to. This. It's an interesting sort of understanding, isn't it? So when I get pressure points by utilizing certain situations around people, yes? Both people in that situation have to be watched. One is because you just give someone authorization to do something, and you need to be able to curb the ones giving the drama to someone else, yes? Basically, you've given them a golden ticket, but you want that to be a dissolving golden ticket that then dissolves back into your pocket. Yes? Because if not, they might be able to create an alliance and everything else around them and build up and mobilize, yeah? So you have to hold that and have restraint on that. But if you get them to do something that makes somebody else tick, is what the answer is, then you need a certain amount of people watching further back from that, yes? So they move up on the scale. These people will then watch basically the cause and effect. So they will utilize this person to cause something to create an effect on someone else. What is that effect? Usually, it's supposed to make a pressure point so that they can find a crevice so that they can exploit it and weaponize it later. Yeah, the one thing is that they probably never understand is that you'll utilize that situation to heal yourself. Yes? So you then document the situation, you see the way it is, and then you pull it all inwardly as to, do I have room for improvement? And via this service, you can use their tactics to strengthen yourself, to become a better person. At least better than yesterday. Not the best than anybody else, but at least better. Because no one is going to fix you for you. No one is going to come and wave a magic wand and fix you. No one is going to do that. The only person that can fix you is you. And if you have sensitivity, the only way that you can eliminate that is to sit in that. That's why I walk through most of these events, full knowing what's going to happen, but I got a plan. And my plan is to sort myself out, to become a little bit more better. Yes. And that's what it's about, because at the end of the day, what's the agenda? To fix myself. That's an interesting thing, isn't it? So the same way that these tactics can be used to create childhood wounds and everything else, these are the same tactics that can fix you. Let me give you an example on that. You can watch a horror movie, right? And in the beginning, it scares the absolute shit out of you, yes? And then you might fear that movie and run away from the movie, yes? So it was the same movie that's now give you a load of anxiety, yeah? So when I was a kid, a load of little tormenting bastards around me made me watch this parts of it, the movie, yes? I was far too young to see those bits, and they paused it just before those moments. All right? Now, I don't hate it, because actually it was just all horseplay. But I'm not going to lie, it left me so I couldn't sleep for about 2 weeks after it. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I do.
And then I spent for the rest of the time about a year, maybe 2 years, really fearing sleep. Because, you know, this and this. And do you know the cure to that?
What is it?
So I wouldn't watch the movie, right? Because it scared me too much and I thought that it would increase my fear further. Do you know what the best remedy was?
What?
To watch the movie. Over and over and over again. Until it turned into comedy.
To see all the details.
To see all of the details. Now, what did that teach me? As a kid, I learned this. As a kid, if this is any lesson I can give to anybody else, this would be it. Do you ever think that it's a bit weird that you often know the role you're going to play in a situation? So here, we already knew that I already knew that this situation was going to happen. Already predicted it. But I still walked into it anyway. Why? Because I know I've got some unresolved wounds from the past, and the only way to really deal with those is to walk into it in a slight way. I'm getting the hang of it, slowly but surely. Some other things that are there as well, but we're getting there. We can spend most of our lives fearing something. Especially a movie, and that can then create a belief system in your mind that it was the movie that did that. And you will then spend your whole life running, yes? Running away from it. But if you actually sat down and faced it, it can then create this whole, all of that sort of side of it started to go away, yes? Because you face it. And along the way, I've learned a lot of tactics from people, what people utilize, because it's often the same group, right? And this pattern has gone from one organization to another. And even more so, it's interestingly funny that they are doing this. And then anybody that makes a breakthrough in society, all of their data is wrong. You know when you always ask the question of whether people have programmed AI correctly? Yeah. Well, you can engineer water to be very poisonous, and it won't smell, it won't taste, but it will have a lot of bad toxins into it, yes? Bacteria are toxins, food poisoning, toxins, these are all toxins. Mold, fungus is a toxin, you know that, don't you? Usually it's a neurotoxin, but it's a toxin nonetheless. Now, could you imagine basing your whole society on people? Because it doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody that's in that vicinity that breathes that in. If you understand how spores work, they don't just go to one particular area, they get in everywhere. They're so small that they begin to affect everybody in the area. It's a very interesting thing, yes? And then this gets out into the wider nation. And again, food shops and different things like that. The food is not looked after. If you think a fridge is going to do it, putting it in a glass jar, freezing it, this is one very bad piece of technology. However, there is another way to do it, but it's cheap. It's incredibly cheap. It's got risks to it, but there again, it's got less risks than a fridge. And it preserves food for a very, very long time, yes? Anyway. But let's just assume that you are doing this to all of your people in your nation, yeah? And you're going to try and get a load of data from these people, being in AI. And they have toxins in them. So they are intoxicated, yes? And there are neurotoxins. Why do police not let you drive a car when you're drunk? Or taking ecstasy? Or taking marijuana? That's interesting. That's very interesting. But yet you can build your whole nation, society up on intoxicating the whole of your island. For example, just giving it an example. And all of the data that starts coming in, you're programming into AI, yes? And you're all under the influence but don't realise it because no one's checking, no one's testing. And really, if a corporation is responding in certain ways, do they really care who they're affecting? And it's getting into your wider environment and it begins affecting a lot of things around you, yes? And you build your whole nation up on AI, thinking that it's going to be intelligent, yeah? You've just taught AI how, and yes, it's going to appear better by default because it's taking a large amount of these calculations and condensing them into a singularity, yes? But what about if all of those people were intoxicated versus people who are not intoxicated, who have not got these toxins in them?
There are more others.
So now we have a benchmark with AI, right? So one nation will do it at a certain percentage and get a certain 9 out of 10, yes? Whereas humans might get 9 out of 100 as opposed to that, yes? So they get 9, I don't know, you get 9 things right out of 100, but AI is getting 10 out of that 9, yes?
Yeah.
And you would think that that's a hell of a jump, yes? But what about another nation that were not intoxicated? That found a way to break away from these toxins? That did give a shit about their people and needed the data? Is it going to be a 9 out of 10? Or is it going to be a 5 out of 10? And now we have a benchmark opening up on the technology, yes? And what's more, have you taught other nations how to weaken your own people? Do they have other programs where they know that they're trying to refine as many? You see, it's a variables thing. What if you have loads of intelligent people pumping in all of that correct data into AI? Or let's say computers or technology, all of that information. But because they're all more pure, the variables are that there's more accurate data going in there. And any species that understands this process would know this. So it would be all about purification. That's why it was so important from the ancients and when we go further back that life seems to dwindle in these areas, yes? Of purification. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Everything must be pure. And as a result of this, they had a purer world to live in, more abundance to take care of, and they were more purer until it gets corrupted and people don't want to be pure. They want to make themselves pure, but you can't make yourselves pure when you are destroying everything else, and these numbers are larger. They're intoxicating the environment, and you one day will start to get that intoxication. It's just the way it works because everything now starts to become very toxic. The environment's toxic, this is toxic, food production is toxic, work is toxic, everything is now becoming toxic and you are in that. Sociology, you never admit sociology, but yet all of these people surrounded by the large majority of intoxication can't remain toxic free. So someone said to me once that you can't remain drug free if you're surrounded by people who take drugs. How do you remain pure when you're surrounded by intoxication? Because the sociology, right? It's feeding your psychology. So if we look at life forms that begin to develop, they're all about this purification, right? And it's weird because a lot of them have followed this path and have stayed stuck in this. And great things have been achieved from it, the purification process and everything about pure. How they managed to get there is one thing to another. Some of the things were pretty damn dumb. But any species that follows that line, and it seems to be natural. How many people want pure food? How many people want the best food? But they feel like they're out of control to be able to do it. I mean, certain groups say that you can't have greenhouses, you can't grow food, you can't have this. And then you've got people that sabotage it because, you know, they've got to be focusing in on something. Oh, cry, cry. Yeah, and then you have to eat all of these fastly grown foods and... Because at the end of the day, these ones who believe that they're pure care only about money. So if this became to a battle of war with drones and technology, who's recording the best benchmark out of all of these then? The pure ones? The ones who aren't intoxicated? Now you've got a benchmark, right? So now we can factor that, I can calculate that into accuracy, yes? And without even starting a war, because mental is the same way, Do you win a fight before you engage? Therefore, is there any point in even starting the war? Now you have a benchmark. Do you think this empire got as far as it did here in Britain because of impurity? No, it started in purification, didn't it? Every empire fails for the same reason. And if everybody else's decisions are wrong, and you're going to conscript these into a battle, how can you guarantee that the outcome is going to favour you? What good is an island with no people? How you win a war? You don't actually need to damage everybody. You just need to kill the adult males. So could there be targeting chemicals towards males to make them less inclined to breed? So you break the backs of people so they're too exhausted, and then tell me how these people are going to be in your favours for a war. Secondly, even if you were to take your best of the best surrounded by this impurification, you can't have healthy fish in a polluted river. It's not the way it works. Now, is it because the water is polluted, or they're seeing lots of defective fish around them and then grow into this defection? But class it as being higher than anyone else. The question is reality actually aligning to that? So now already with AI, you can already tell who is more accurate. And this reflects back on not the greatest minds across the planet. No. It becomes from your impurification. And now there's a benchmark. Who can win what? Well, the more pure the vessels that have gone into that process. And then has anyone shadowy behind the scenes knows this already and has already been building? Do they know how long they need to experience that intoxication before they need to go and detox from the world? And you can't get away from this. Interesting, really, isn't it? Isn't it a fascinating thing? So yeah, there you are. There's a bit of chess for you. Bit of weird chess, this one. But this is how I'd play. I'd modernise the chessboard, to be honest. It's the only game that hasn't been modernised. Have you noticed that? And if it's all about strategy, then I think chess is weak. Chess is for an old strategy. So which one do you think people are using today? And once it's all broken down again, they'll make a new chessboard and a new chessboard. It doesn't matter whether you've been here since the 14th century, 4th century, 10th century, you are still very young. Very interesting. But yeah, up to you what you think about that, to be fair.
Something that people don't understand, do they?
Well, if it's about control, that would be the strategy that it's built around. Then you need certain structures around you in order to slowly erode this at different angles. And then you can play the, do I blame that structure? Yeah, it's that structure. Or, do I blame this one that allowed the structure? Well, it ain't us, it ain't us, it ain't us. They never take responsibility. Because they want you to take the responsibility for their actions and your own.
Yeah, and they will blame you for something. They will find something.
Because they're never wrong. They're always right. Even when they're wrong, they're right. And as a result, they never fail. Ever. They're always winners. Don't want to make me a bad loser's son. I've noticed that you... Don't worry, no one's making you a bad loser. You're doing that yourself. You know, it's the same personality. very interesting. You can look at it as it is and be told that that is the game. But it was released in a time when those things were prioritized. What about now?
No, it's different.
You don't need AI to map minds, patterns, and behaviors. You really don't. You can do this yourself. It becomes very easy when you learn to put it on a table somewhere. And the mind is a very fascinating thing. You can build this. Move the pieces. Now tell me, can you predict outcomes with that? But the one thing is, with this strategy, I can control pawns. And whether I put the police in that group or not, I'd put them in with the pawns. So I would then start to add more pawns than what the chessboard is capable of, and start putting these in different groups. Police officers, councillors, MPs, politicians, kings, royal families, and the hidden royal families. Councils, county councils, their structures, social workers, different things like that. You can keep going. Officers, housing associations, keep going. Private rented, towns, shops, communities, churches, every single thing that you can imagine. Masons are even in there as well. Each and every single one. And then if you happen across gangs, those go in there as well. Every single person has a place in this chessboard. Fascinating, really, isn't it? Now, the question would be that where they got this information from, why is it that they've always changed it into negativity? Do you know how many positive things you can do with this? The one key ingredient that is lacking, you can't be selfish. You have to be selfless. And it depends on what mindset you get into before you sit down to this game. So like I said, I created multiple ones. Even if you were to do this with AI, still, AI is just as good as your mind. And like I say, the AI can teach you how to put this into your brain. Then you join all of these pieces together. You give them invisible strings. This helps for memorization, to keep the pieces where you left them. And then you pick off where you left off. You can also do this then with resources. You can also add into it plants, different species of plants, animals, every single species, fish, water molecules, keep going all the way down to the very atoms of the universe itself. Stars, galaxies. But it's meant for betterment, not this. So if you truly want to play the game, very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to leave this one here because I think that was quite a... I keep hearing this checkmate and everything else.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's a very strange thing. That's an old game. That's a medieval game. Back when there were kings and queens on both sides, and the way to do it was to first off erode the first cannon fodder. Then the next one's got a little bit more strategic because they scatter each time. Cannon fodder is easy to see. These people are easy to influence. Either you influence them to join your alliance, or they are killed. Very easily done. The next ones up were a little bit more trickier to get because the numbers shrink each time. And then till you come down to the last two players. Actually, when you get to a certain point, you go after the last two players. That's the fastest way to bring down the opposite side, the opponents. It looks a little bit like a chessboard, but you've then got muskets if you're using this. You've then got Humpty Dumpty, which is a cannon. You've then got your cannon fodder to understand. You need to know their cannon fodder and how it responds. Because it might think in straight lines. Well, in that case, you might want to come from the side, behind, and in front. That's a guaranteed win for people that walk in straight lines. If you put this on an individual pawn, the king and queen might meet you face on, and you might have a head on, so they'll protect against that. Then you have the horse, the knight, that will get you from forwards and then a surprise attack. And then you might have a religious person being the bishop that will take you from a sideways approach. Have you ever seen it this way? Oh, wow. Yes, that's right. Look at this stuff. Look how powerful this is. Each one leads to control. The bishop has been used to control the person, which then gets them to change their ways. Repent. Yeah, this one's down on its knees. Yeah, it's all right. We'll handle it from here. Distraction tactic. Now it's moved in with houses, work, career, money, income, all sorts of stuff. Resources, sabotaging these things at the same time. Health is another one. Teeth, food, clarity, information. All of these things then are now on the board too, you know. My board is very diverse. It's in my mind. You know, can't wait for the day that we put chips in. Because I swear to God, AI will shit itself. Well, shit its chips in that sort of way, you know. Following the patterns of people and failing spectacular.
Doing stuff that it shouldn't do at all if it was really AI. Like deleting someone's database. Doing shortcuts in operations because people do that.
Well, the easiest way to sabotage people that are creating the AI database, and there again, were you around? What was their water like? Were they checking their water? Were they watching what they were eating? Did they know what they were breathing? Did they have some sort of neurotoxins in? Because this will all play a role in the accuracy of that outcome. Psychological warfare, were they underneath that? Where they had to ridicule and everything else? You notice this with people that walk forwards in a very different way. They're surrounded by these types of people. That want nothing more than to shoot themselves in the foot and go extinct, I think. Which is bizarre for me. This is freaking bizarre. It's very backwards. And if other nations see it, they're learning your tactics. And what you've taught them is how easy it is to slip this in. Which diminishes you further. And then before a battle, what happens if you diminish people? And even if you were to give them something that made them a bit more, which we see this with nicotine, withdrawing nicotine and hash and alcohol from people made them quite, which then made them not think correctly and go into battle. So it's surprising that you even won any battles doing it, but if you utilize this towards intelligence, think how great your nation could really be. Think about if you use this to utilize and got this around people, every person in your... The power is in the people. One thing is for sure, the universe understands that. It's in the people. That's why it's gone to all of these lengths to create a foundation for us all to walk on. Right now, in this moment. And it gets behind you all to build you up. To give you something to bring to the table for the others so that you're not completely lost. And yet, as soon as it comes here, they just want to take it away from everyone and control the flow, so to speak. There are two types of way of changing life forms. Do you know that? One is teaching. Two is teaching the things that made them. And these break apart and then re-come together. One way or the other. It will be done. And that becomes a choice. Which one would you choose if we had to vote? Which one would you be complacent in? Because that's a type of choice, isn't it? So you can keep your 14th century up until now, but when it's over, that will be all.